Leave me alone! Ah!
Akira!
Okay, no, but seriously, YouTube, it is the 1st of June, and that is the day that there are updates for the Coffin of Annie Leyley. Now, I didn't even cover the last one because it was literally nothing. It was just the author saying, hey, it was out, thanks for playing. And that was true, it was out. That was a couple months ago now. So, let's check out what we got going on. Still doing the thing. June 1st, 2025. All right. Changes to the announcement schedule. Okay, well, let's take a look at these in a second. Okay, the engagement for the previous announcement has noticeably declined, most likely due to the lack of content. This isn't expected to change for quite a while, and finding teasers that don't spoil the story gets increasingly challenging as the story nears certain endpoints. Okay, well, to be fair, engagement declined because look at this. It's just some text, and there's not even any pictures. How am I going to read if there's no picture book, you know? This update is just like kind of like behind the scenes stuff for improvement of the game. This isn't interesting stuff that anyone wants to read about. So I feel like it's a little disingenuous to say like, hey, no one read the last post. Okay, so let's continue. To adjust for this, there won't be regular announcements on the first day of the month going forward. This may change later, but for the time being, they're unsustainable and would become increasingly hollow. Oh my God, I'm released. I'm released from my duty. I no longer have to cover these monthly. For the foreseeable future, content and information will be accumulated and announcements will be done when there is something substantial to share. Okay, cool. So I'm just gonna have to stay on my toes, and I gotta hit up YouTube whenever one of these drops. And I'm sure she's gonna stealth drop them in the middle of the night at 3 a.m. like they have been in the past. The quality of these updates are being balanced against the degree of restlessness likely to cultivate in the absence of regular posts. Just know that unless difficulties are expressed, everything marches along at the fastest sustainable pace possible. Okay, so this is kind of just saying like, stop bothering me. I'm doing the work. Author's remarks, still going steady and all is well. Okay, thanks, bye. All right, thanks, Nemle. All right, let's take a look at these. All right, so they're back at the, you know, the cultist, what was that place? It was like the cultist hangout spot. The cultist club. Ashley's saying, oh, fine, the second floor button works there. Should we go? Waste your time or pass? Interesting. So it looks like we'll probably be revisiting that spot. I doubt it's a flashback, right? And then the second thing we have is Ashley. Who is that? That's not Andy. Hell, that's not even Andrew. Ooh, a third sub-personality for Andrew enters. Actually, I'm just gonna shot in the dark. Andrew gets possessed by the entity. Boom. Might as well make a prediction, right? So, since this is the last one of these we're going to do for a while, apparently, let's take a moment to recollect, to remember the history of the Coffin of Annie and Leyley. If we go back to the past, wow. Episode 1 was released on October 13th of 2023, and that was already after it had been out on itch.io for a substantial amount of time. Ah, Episode 1, those were the days. It was just a quaint little 1-hour experience with an interesting plot of two siblings trapped in an apartment. It has occultic references, it's got conspiracies. What more could you ask for? And that was when I was most interested in the series. Believe it or not, I know it's difficult to imagine, because looking at me, I'm quite sensible, but I like to indulge in some conspiracies here and there. So the first episode, when it was mostly about just like, hey, why is the government trapping us here? Why are we being starved? What's going on? I thought that was really cool. However, I had smelled the blood in the water, even at that point. Then, episode 2 comes out. The game gets massively, massively popular. This is Halloween of the following year, actually. I think it was like October 27th of 2024. The episode, while still good, crosses some boundaries. It crosses some lines. It does some fictional no-nos. You know, in the modern day, I think people have difficulty with distinguishing depiction and endorsement. Just because you depict something in a story does not mean you endorse the actions. How are we going to build a villains if... Okay, hold on. I'm getting off track. At this point, some lines were crossed in the fiction, and it actually surprisingly wasn't the fratricide and matricide elements and the ritualistic cannibalism involved. It was actually the inappropriate fraternalization. And actually, the funny thing is, at this point, they were still deniers. People are just like, no, it's not an incest game. You should have been able to smell in episode 1, like me. Something's cooking, and it's not human flesh. So after that, there was actually quite a bit of controversy, and there was an attempted doxing of the author, Nemle, who no longer goes by Nemle, by the Shardy. Anyway, some people's personal information was revealed. I don't know if the information revealed was pertaining to the author or not, because I respect healthy personal boundaries, and I would never read someone's personal private information. You know, what's kind of funny though is the very next year, the Shardy would go on to hack 4chan and actually reveal the source code for 4chan. It was down for like a week. If the year was like 2010, that would be the craziest happening ever. But because it's 2025 now and no one really cares anymore, they kind of just flew under the radar. But man, if this was the old internet days, that would have been wild. Would have been wild. Anyway, after that, Kit9, the company that handles the publishing of The Coffin of Leyley, was formed to sort of create a healthy boundary between author and, I guess, community at this point, because this game's gotten out of hand. Look at this, 27,000 reviews, at least. I actually don't know if Steam tallies it or not. It's some tiny percentage of people review games who buy them. Like, I've never reviewed a game in my life. So if 27,000 people reviewed this game, it means an enormous amount of people bought this game. Suddenly, there's a lot of fans. And some of them are, actually no, some of them are anti-fans. So Kit9 was created so Leyley, the author, who no longer goes by Leyley because of this incident, has some separation. Then since then, we've been drip-fed these, I guess, these monthly updates. And now this is the last one. From here on, no news is good news. But to be honest, guys, if we're anticipating the next release based on the previous schedule, we're going to be playing episode 3-2 probably sometime next year, and then the other half of episode 3, the thing that you all are interested in, because you're I'm gonna cut that part out. That's not gonna be out till 2027 minimum. So, you know, stick around, subscribe, watch some of my other videos. All right, that's all for now, and that's all for this foreseeable future. Do Profit out. Peace.